Hera, because she was kind of batty, not gonna lie. She was kind of... Sorry. If my son was ugly, I'd throw him off a cliff, too.
Touch ya, kiss ya, you're gonna realize. Maybe that you think too much. But if I touch ya, kiss ya, watch out. Soon I'm gonna body mountain, babe. You see I got the Midas touch.
Hi! Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today our topic is the Percy Jackson fandom. I think I need to preface something first. I used to be a massive Percy Jackson fan. Now, not so much. I'm not a fan anymore. I have every single book. They're all on my bookshelf. I have the first series, Heroes of Olympus. I have the Kane Chronicles. I have Magnus Chase. I have Trials of Apollo. I have the 2 Chalice of the Gods books. And I have the Son of the Star. I haven't read the Kane Chronicles. And I haven't finished Heroes of Olympus. Because Heroes of Olympus was really boring. Spoiler alert for Percy Jackson. If you haven't read it, Percy Jackson is a series that centers around a boy, Percy Jackson, or Perseus. That's his full name. No one calls him that because it's a dork. It's a dorky name. Percy. He finds out he's a demigod. Which is, he's half human, half god. His godly parent is Poseidon, and he goes to a camp where there's a bunch of other demigods. And then he just fights a bunch of monsters and goblins and guys, and he saves the day every single time. So it's basically just your normal kids book, except it's just Greek mythology. And in the second series, Roman mythology. And then we get into other mythologies. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about Percy Jackson. When I first got into the Percy Jackson fandom, it was dead. There was a few artists who made fan art still. There was still like a few people who cosplayed, a few people who talked about it, but nobody was really super active in it. I mean, it's a big fandom, so it's like it can never really fully die out because people are always gonna like it, so it'll never fully die out. So Percy Jackson came out in 2005. So a lot of the people who read it when it first came out are fully grown adults. I mean, like, if you were born in 2005, you're 20 now. So people who read it probably like when they were 10, so they're 30. The original people who read it aren't really in the fandom anymore. At least I'm sure some are. A lot of them aren't though. So it's just became like new younger people who found the book later on, like me. I read them when I was 11. So a lot of the OG fans aren't fans anymore. They're not really in the fandom. It's mainly newer people, like around my age, older. There wasn't really a ton of younger fans because, I mean, Percy Jackson itself isn't super popular anymore, so the fandom was just either people who read it from the beginning or like people who like read it when like the second series came out. There wasn't a ton of new fans. I found the Percy Jackson series because I was reading a different Norse mythology book and I was trying to find more, and I found Magnus Chase, but it's still my favorite series. It is the best. It is objectively the best. Magnus Chase and the Trials of Apollo, best 2 series. The people who are in the fandom, super active in the fandom. Like, if you were in the Percy Jackson fandom, you were in it. You were in it. And a big part of that I kind of mentioned a little bit in my last video, is people kind of took to changing a lot of the characters' personalities. And I think this is where we get into who the characters are. So, I'll explain the few main characters from, like, Percy Jackson, Heroes of Olympus. The ones that I'm gonna be talking about. Percy Jackson, son of Poseidon. That's all the main character for a kid's book. Then we got his girlfriend, Annabeth Chase. We love her. We love Annabeth Chase. Daughter of Athena. Nico D'Angelo, son of Hades. Everyone loves him. He's okay. Son of Hades. Will Solus, Nico's boyfriend. Son of Apollo. His dad. Hazel Levesque, her father is Pluto, who is the Roman version of Hades, so she's technically Nico's half-sister. Then we have Leo Valdez. He's the son of Hephaestus. We have Piper McLean, daughter of Aphrodite. Jason Grace, son of Jupiter, who is the Roman version of Zeus. And he has a sister, Thalia Grace, who's his full sister, technically. And we have Frank Zhang, who is dating Hazel. So those are our main characters. For a long while, there weren't any new books. Like, Cause of Apollo was the last book out, and that didn't even center around Percy. Percy's last book was Heroes of Olympus, and then it moved on to Chalice of the Gods, which came out last year. We didn't have a ton of new content, so people started making up things for themselves. They changed a lot of characters' personalities. A lot of people's criticism of the second series had to do with just a lot of the characters being really boring. So beforehand, the only demigods that we really focused in on were Percy, Annabeth, and Nico. Those were the only, and other characters, but I mean like characters that were also in second series. Those were really the only three, and adding so many new characters at the same time kind of caused like a big jumbled mess. So it was hard to get to know all the characters at the same time, and that kind of caused their stories not to be super fleshed out. Especially Jason's. Jason's would have been really, really interesting. He had lost his memory, and all of a sudden he was in this relationship with this girl and this boy that he didn't actually know. And it turned out that it was all fabricated by Hera, which was really cool, and it would have been really interesting if Rick Riordan would have expanded on that, but he didn't. And now Jason's dead. A lot of people took to kind of changing a lot of the character personalities. People also made Jason a lot more fun, like, in their mind, and like they made him like really cool. Like, sometimes I literally forget he's dead canonically in the series because I'm like so focused in on, oh my god, Jason would totally do that, guys. And I'm like, he died. He can't do that. He's dead. Piper sucks in the books, but people made her a lot more nicer. Piper and a lot of the other female characters in the Percy Jackson series, in the whole mythological series that Rick Riordan has, there are a lot of issues with the female characters, in my opinion. I'm pretty girly. I like all the girly stuff, but there's a difference between like making a female lead who's strong and like powerful, and then one that's like strong and powerful but hates that she's a woman. And the way that Rick Riordan writes his female characters makes it seem like that. Even Annabeth, who I would say is the best female lead in his series, even she shies away from a lot of feminine things because she thinks that it makes her seem less strong. And we never really talk about that in the series. I understand it's a kid's book, but for me, I kind of feel upset when a female main character is mad because of her femininity. And it's just strange. You can be a tomboy, that's fine. But to be like Piper McLean and constantly be like, oh my god, my mom's Aphrodite and I hate that. When I found out, I changed into a dress and I hated it. I cut off my hair because I don't want people to think I'm really pretty. It's like girl, what? Her whole personality is her saying, nah, I'm a girl boss. I don't wear dresses. I wear ripped jeans and I have a wolf cut. And it's like, what? And she gets so pissed when people are like, oh my god, you're so pretty. She's like, no, I'm not. Girl, your mom's Aphrodite. Yeah, you're gonna be gorgeous. Sorry, you're prettier than the rest of us. Her dad is a massive movie star. She's like, I hate my dad. And it's like, that's how she ended up, like, with Jason and Leo, because they were all like at like this delinquent camp because she broke into a car or something. It's like, girl, just talk to your dad. It's not that hard. And Rick Riordan tries to, like, expand on, like, the fact that, like, not expand, but, like, tries to, like, kind of excuse her actions by being like, oh, her dad doesn't really care about her, but he does. He does. She just thinks that he doesn't. Yeah, he's famous. He's still a good person. He still loves his daughter. He still makes an effort. And it's like, I'm not saying, like, oh, she should be grateful that her dad isn't, like, abusive or anything. It's like, no. But she should be, like, a little bit more thankful. Like, girl, you're rich. At least you're not on the streets. Like, Rick Riordan tries to kind of, like, make her be like, oh, maybe I'm overreacting. Like, yeah, you are. But then she's like, ugh. And then she gets annoyed by something else. And it makes me mad. Because either his characters are like that, or a little bit like Annabeth, where they're like, yeah, I'm big and strong. I don't really like wearing dresses, but I guess I will. Like Raina's like that. Raina's also a really good one. She's like, she doesn't mind being like feminine, which I like. Thalia's good too, but like Thalia's like emo, which kind of also brings out like more like not like kind of like shying away from femininity, which is okay. That's fine. I love Thalia. And then there was like a few other like side characters, and they're all super butch. And it's like, can we please get a female character that's not tomboyish? 'Cause you can be strong without being a tomboy. Like the whole idea of people saying that, oh, Disney princesses aren't strong. They're like wearing dresses and all they care about is like fighting for a man. What's wrong with that? People begin to think that because of media, and I think it's a little bit harmful in a kid's book especially. And that's part of why I think a lot of people have changed Piper's character, because I know I'm not alone in that. A lot of people think that Piper's annoying, which I especially do. She's my least favorite character in all of the series. And I really dislike her because of that. And she never moves past it, which I wouldn't be complaining about this if she did. But she's constantly, that's all she thinks about. And I'm really tired of main characters being like that. Now on to the show. So the show came out December 2023. My opinion on it, it was okay. I think they could have done a lot differently, and I wish they would have done a lot differently. CGI kind of sucked. I loved the actors and actress. They were all really good. Honestly, I thought the movies were more fun than the show was. For a kid's show, it was boring. It was really, really boring. I mean, I can see how people enjoyed it, just not my cup of tea. But it definitely changed the fandom. After the show came out, there were so many new fans, which I was really excited about at first, because, I mean, something that I loved at the time, getting new fans, awesome. Until I realized most of those new fans were coming from the show. And so the show only covers the first book in the first series, which is just the beginning of the story. There's like, compared to the whole rest of the lore, there's really nothing in there. But people kind of took what they had and ran with it as if they knew everything else. It's like, no, sorry. You don't actually know. You know one of the books. That's it. And people were obsessing over Walker Scobell. I think that's how you say his name. Who plays Percy in the show. People were obsessing over him and Leah, who plays Annabeth. I don't know her last name. And they kept insisting that they should be together. They kept shipping them. I am a big hater of shipping real people. It doesn't matter if they'll never know it. It doesn't matter. It's really weird. It's really strange to be like, oh my god, you two should so be together. It puts a lot of pressure on them, especially when you're in the public eye, and when so many people are bombarding you with it, it's a big thing. Like, I remember when I was in the Dream SMP fandom, Tommy and Tubbo, who were like best friends at the time, they had so many issues because people wouldn't stop shipping them. And it can cause a lot of discourse in friendships. And like in K-pop too, like people want to stop hanging out with their friends in their group because they're getting so many accusations of like, oh my god, they're dating. No, they're friends, thank you. And it's like, Walker and Leah, who cares if they're dating or not? It's not right unless they come out with it. Also, isn't Walker like 15? Why are you shipping 15-year-olds? And that's part of the reason why I had to leave. I hate it. I hate it when people ship real people. It causes so much harm, and it literally divides the community in half with people who agree with shipping real people and people who don't agree. I'm on the side where I don't agree at all. I think it's very wrong. Then people started manipulating things a little bit. People who had watched the show and heard a little bit about what happened in the books started kind of changing the story into how they wanted the story to be, and it really ruined a lot of people's experience with the books. Then people who said, "Oh, the show wasn't that good," started getting bombarded with hate from people who loved the show. And it's like, when you get a bunch of 11-year-olds who come into the fandom all at the same time, with a bunch of teenagers, young adults, it causes a lot of problems. And just having all these young kids who won't have their minds changed about certain things, and then having these older people who are already kind of getting out of the fandom since, one, it was dying, and two, it's a book meant for kids, literally divided the fandom. And it's not fun to have to choose a side. You can't really enjoy something when you have to do that. It just really sucked. It wasn't fun anymore. It's not fun to be in a fandom that's fully divided. I'm happy that it got popular. I think for a kid's book, I think it's fairly good. It's not the best written. I've definitely read better kids books. I've definitely watched better kids shows. It's hard when there's two forms of media of one thing, and people who like the one don't tend to pass over to the other. With having also live action characters, it makes people kind of be like biased towards liking certain characters because they're hot. Hades was described by Percy to be the first real imitating god that he met. The first one. Why was he acting like that? Like, I'm sorry. And that's the whole reason. That guy, he acts like my dad. I wouldn't think that guy, like, caused a bunch of trouble. Nah. I think that he was, like, about to, like, take me out to, like, a barbecue or something. That Hades, not intimidating at all. Another thing with female characters. Clarice, daughter of Ares, who's a big part of the first series. She is described to be really butch. She's, like, not fat, but she's, like, chubbier. But she's, like, really, really strong because she's the daughter of Ares, who's the god of war. So she's gonna be strong. And they keep casting the actresses who play her as these little skinny minis. I'm sorry? Clarice is described in the books. All the official art for her is all her, very strong, very powerful. Why are we making her this little skinny girl who has no muscles on her at all? I'm all for representation, whether that be bigger people, like plus size people, or skinny people. But why are we purposefully making a character who is blatantly described as strong, and that's a main part of her character? Why are we making her thin? That wasn't necessary. There are so many actresses that you could have cast who are strong and bigger. But no, you always have to cast these little pin-legged girls. And it's like, yeah, the girls who play them, they may be strong, but they don't look like how Clarice should look. Annabeth, white in the books, black in the show. I don't care. Clarice, people are scared of her because of her stance, because of the way that she looks. The actresses who play Clarice, all I think is that they look like mean girls. That's it. And that's what they've whittled Clarice down to. A mean girl who's, yeah, she's a little bit strong. Like, I'm sorry? That's not who Clarice is supposed to be. But I see nobody talking about that. Because, oh, people hate it when they make a skinny character fat. But people don't care when they make a fat character skinny. That's my issues with the Percy Jackson fandom. And the books. And pretty much the whole thing. That's it.